Hi, today I will be doing a video on July 64 Unrest in Rochester, New York for SW 290 at NC State University. So, after watching the July 64 Unrest in Rochester, New York, I could see why the video has named this. I never heard of the events that occurred in 1964 before watching this video, and I think the video clips about Rochester events were self-explanatory on what led to such events. It did a good job explaining the racism issues that occurs. There was so much going on that it was hard to believe that any of it was true. Living in the North can have issues just like living in the South, unfortunately. Some parts of the video were devastating to hear. The town seemed to have a rich feeling, but it was hard living in it, experiencing like poverty issues. It appeared to have more of a modern view and decent housing for people in this town. It was a better opportunity for young people to get the right educational resources. You would not believe the things that were going on in a town so small. After reading more about this town, there was police brutality, and African Americans seemed to be more affected by this. Of course, this was a norm during these times. It appears the riot started when there was a street dance where there were uninvited guests that attended that night. Things got out of hand, and the police had to act upon it. A young man got arrested. Unfortunately, the police handled it in an unkindly way in the eyes of others. After seeing the interviews, it seems as if there was a denial of how the police chose to respond. And this is how all the riots started. The police had every right to act as if they did. And on the other hand, the police and the people had a right to act as if they did. The weapons used to abuse others in these riots was hard to see. When I think about this video, it reminds me of how small towns always seem to have these kind of issues. There is always going to be some form of racism and political issues, even in bigger cities, honestly. Unfortunately, in today's times, nothing has changed. People just got quieter about it. The video reminds me of a more recent social justice incident that occurred with George Floyd a few years ago. The way people handled him was uncalled for. Of course, people are going to start damaging the cities and towns until justice has been made. Although I feel like this is not really the right way to handle issues like this. It seems like there will always be a pattern of these things when people feel as if the act of police was handled by an act of racism. There will always be riots and rude awakening of things that appears to be a social justice thing. I think police could lighten up a little when handling issues like this. In certain situations, it does not take over 4 to 5 cops to just take down one man, especially when the man is unarmed. This is my opinion on what happened on July 64 in Rochester, New York.